Men are moved by two levers only, fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte, they tell you to just be yourself. That authenticity is the key. But they don't tell you that in the social arena, being yourself is often a losing strategy, because your unfiltered self, your unguarded reactions, are exactly what skilled manipulators will exploit. It's like walking onto a chessboard naked, expecting honesty to be your shield. The truth is, social interactions are rarely about genuine connection. They're often a subtle dance of power, influence, and calculated moves. We're here to pull back the curtain, to show you the game board that others keep hidden. Most people stumble through conversations, reacting instinctively, unaware that every word, every gesture is a piece being moved. They believe that politeness and good intentions are enough. They are wrong, because while they're playing by the supposed rules of etiquette, others are playing a different game entirely. A game where your vulnerabilities are their weapons and your naivete is their advantage. They spot your insecurities like predators sensing weakness, and they use your own desires against you. This isn't about cynicism, it's about recognizing reality. The world doesn't reward sincerity, it rewards effectiveness. And effectiveness in the social realm requires understanding the underlying mechanics. It requires knowing how to read people, how to frame situations, and how to protect yourself from those who would seek to control you. We're not suggesting you become a manipulator yourself. We're offering you the tools to defend yourself, to navigate social landscapes with awareness, and to ensure that you're the one making the moves, not the one being played. Think of every conversation as a negotiation, even if it doesn't feel like one. Everyone has an agenda, a desired outcome, whether they're conscious of it or not. And the person who understands these hidden agendas, who can anticipate their opponent's moves, is the one who ultimately prevails. This isn't about being manipulative, it's about being strategic. It's about recognizing that your emotions, your reactions, are valuable assets that must be protected and deployed wisely. The naive believe that vulnerability is strength. We show you how vulnerability becomes a liability. The common advice is to listen actively, to empathize, to build rapport. All well and good, but what happens when that empathy is weaponized? When your willingness to understand is used to exploit your weaknesses? What happens when your active listening provides your opponent with the information they need to manipulate you further? The standard advice leaves you exposed. We give you the armor. We teach you to recognize the subtle shifts in power, the unspoken challenges, the manipulative tactics disguised as friendly banter. Consider the person who constantly interrupts you, subtly undermining your confidence, or the colleague who subtly insults you under the guise of a joke, chipping away at your self-esteem, or the friend who constantly seeks your approval, draining your emotional energy. These are not isolated incidents. They are calculated moves in a social game, and unless you understand the rules of that game, you'll continue to be played. We expose these tactics, we give them names, and we provide you with the strategies to counter them. Because in the social arena, ignorance is not bliss, it's a handicap. The key is understanding that human interaction is often driven by subconscious desires and hidden agendas. People are not always rational actors. They are driven by emotions, insecurities, and a need for validation. And these vulnerabilities can be exploited. Look at the tactic of negging, where someone delivers a backhanded compliment or subtle insult designed to lower your self-esteem and make you more susceptible to their influence. It's a deliberate attempt to destabilize your frame, to make you question your own value. Understanding the psychology behind this tactic allows you to recognize it for what it is, a desperate attempt to gain control. And once you see it, its power vanishes. Or consider the guilt trip, a common manipulation tactic used to control behavior through emotional blackmail. Someone might say, "After all I've done for you." This phrase is a red flag, a signal that you are being manipulated. The goal is to create a sense of obligation, to make you feel indebted so that you'll comply with their wishes. Recognizing this tactic allows you to detach from the emotion and assess the situation rationally. Are you truly obligated, or are you being manipulated? The ability to separate emotion from logic is crucial in navigating the social landscape. Don't let someone else dictate your actions based on their emotional manipulation. Then there's the tactic of gaslighting, a more insidious form of manipulation that involves distorting reality to make you question your own sanity. This can involve denying events that occurred, twisting words, or making you feel like you're overreacting. Gaslighting is designed to erode your self-trust and make you dependent on the manipulator. It's a slow, insidious process that can have devastating consequences. The key to resisting gaslighting is to trust your own perception of reality. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Seek validation from trusted sources and document events to maintain a clear record of what's happening. Don't let someone else rewrite your history. Another subtle tactic is the use of triangulation, where a third party is brought into a situation to create conflict or manipulate the dynamics. This can involve gossiping, spreading rumors, or playing people against each other. The manipulator uses the third party to amplify their message, to create a sense of division and control. Recognizing triangulation allows you to avoid being drawn into the conflict. Refuse to participate in gossip, and be wary of people who constantly try to involve you in other people's drama. Maintain clear boundaries and avoid becoming a pawn in someone else's game. Moreover, be aware of the power of nonverbal communication. Body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice can all be used to exert influence. A dominant posture, direct eye contact, and a confident tone can convey authority and control. Conversely, submissive body language, averted gaze, and a hesitant tone can signal weakness. Understanding the language of body language allows you to project confidence and assertiveness, while also detecting when others are trying to dominate or manipulate you. Practice maintaining eye contact, speaking clearly and confidently, and using open and assertive body language. Consider the way information is presented. Framing is the art of shaping how information is perceived by others. By emphasizing certain aspects of a situation and downplaying others, you can influence how people interpret events. For example, a salesperson might frame a product as a limited-time offer to create a sense of urgency and scarcity, even if the offer is always available. Understanding framing allows you to critically evaluate information and avoid being swayed by biased presentations. Always ask yourself, what's being emphasized? What's being downplayed? What's the underlying agenda? And remember, social chess is not about being Machiavellian or ruthless. It's about understanding the dynamics of power and influence, and using that knowledge to protect yourself and achieve your goals. It's about being aware of the subtle games that people play and refusing to be a pawn in their schemes. It's about cultivating self-awareness, developing emotional intelligence, and mastering the art of strategic communication. It's about understanding the psychology of manipulation and developing the skills to resist it. It is about protecting yourself. It is about winning. Now let's dissect a scenario, a brutal example of social chess played at the highest level. Imagine a high-stakes business negotiation between two CEOs, each representing multi-billion-dollar corporations. CEO Alpha, known for his ruthless deal-making and unwavering confidence, sits across the table from CEO Beta, a more collaborative and consensus-driven leader. The negotiation revolves around a potential merger, a deal that could reshape the entire industry landscape. From the outset, Alpha establishes dominance through nonverbal cues. He arrives precisely on time, impeccably dressed, and immediately takes control of the seating arrangement, positioning himself in the power seat at the head of the table. His handshake is firm, his eye contact unwavering, and his voice resonates with authority. Beta, in contrast, arrives a few minutes late, offers a slightly weaker handshake, and allows Alpha to dictate the seating arrangement. These subtle cues, often overlooked, set the stage for the power dynamics that will unfold throughout the negotiation. As the discussion begins, Alpha employs a barrage of framing techniques to manipulate Beta's perception of the deal. He emphasizes the potential benefits of the merger for Alpha's company, highlighting the synergies, cost savings, and increased market share. He downplays the potential risks and downsides for Beta's company, such as job losses, cultural clashes, and loss of autonomy. He frames the merger as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that Beta cannot afford to miss, creating a sense of urgency and scarcity. Beta, initially optimistic about the merger, begins to feel pressured and uncertain. He starts to question his own position and the value of his company. Alpha then employs a classic manipulation tactic, the good cop, bad cop routine. He introduces his chief financial officer, a notoriously aggressive and demanding negotiator who immediately starts to nitpick Beta's financial projections and demand unreasonable concessions. Alpha plays the role of the good cop, stepping in to mediate and offer seemingly reasonable compromises. However, these compromises are carefully calculated to benefit Alpha's company, while still giving Beta the illusion of winning. Throughout the negotiation, Alpha closely monitors Beta's body language and microexpressions, searching for signs of weakness or vulnerability. He notices that Beta tends to fidget and avoid eye contact when discussing sensitive topics, such as potential job losses. Alpha exploits this vulnerability by repeatedly pressing Beta on these issues, creating discomfort and eroding his confidence. He also uses subtle conversational tactics to control the flow of the discussion. He interrupts Beta frequently, changes the subject when Beta raises inconvenient points, and uses rhetorical questions to steer the conversation in his desired direction. Beta, increasingly overwhelmed and intimidated, finds himself agreeing to terms that are far more favorable to Alpha's company than he initially intended. The entire process is a calculated display of social chess, with Alpha orchestrating every move to maximize his advantage. He understands that negotiation is not simply about exchanging information and reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. It is about power, influence, and the art of persuasion. The merger is ultimately completed on Alpha's terms, with Beta's company sacrificing significant value and autonomy. In the aftermath, Beta reflects on the negotiation and realizes that he was outmaneuvered at every turn. He failed to recognize the subtle power plays, the manipulative framing techniques, and the calculated emotional manipulation. He underestimated Alpha's ruthlessness and overestimated the importance of collaboration and consensus. This scenario serves as a stark reminder that social chess is not just a game. It's a fundamental aspect of human interaction. Understanding its principles and mastering its techniques is essential for navigating the complex and often cutthroat world of business, politics, and personal relationships. By learning to recognize the subtle cues, the manipulative tactics, and the power dynamics at play, you can protect yourself from being exploited and achieve your goals with greater confidence and effectiveness. This failure highlights a crucial vulnerability: the inability to recognize and respond to subtle shifts in conversational power. Many individuals approach social interactions with a naive belief in fairness and reciprocity, assuming that others are operating in good faith. This assumption leaves them vulnerable to exploitation by those who are more skilled at social chess. They fail to see the conversation as a dynamic interplay of influence, a contest of wills where the ultimate goal is to shape the narrative and control the outcome. Instead, they focus on the surface-level content of the discussion, missing the underlying power dynamics that are driving the interaction. This blindness stems from a lack of awareness, a failure to recognize the subtle cues and manipulative tactics that are being deployed. They might notice that they feel uncomfortable or pressured, but they are unable to pinpoint the source of their unease. This lack of conscious awareness makes them easy targets for skilled social manipulators. They are like chess players who are unaware of the opponent's pieces and their potential threats. The weak often believe that simply being nice or reasonable will protect them from being taken advantage of. They equate politeness with safety, assuming that others will reciprocate their good intentions. However, this is a dangerous assumption. In the world of social chess, niceness is often seen as a weakness to be exploited, a sign of vulnerability that can be leveraged for personal gain. The truly skilled player understands that politeness is a tool, not a genuine expression of goodwill. It can be used to lull the opponent into a false sense of security, making them more susceptible to manipulation. Another common mistake is to underestimate the importance of emotional control. Many individuals allow their emotions to cloud their judgment, reacting impulsively to perceived slights or threats. This emotional reactivity makes them predictable and easily manipulated. A skilled social player can trigger emotional responses in their opponent, knowing that they will make mistakes when they are angry, afraid, or insecure. They can use emotional manipulation to cloud their opponent's judgment and control their behavior. The weak often fall into the trap of arguing on their opponent's terms, allowing them to define the boundaries of the discussion. This is a critical mistake because it concedes control of the narrative. By allowing the other person to frame the issue, they are essentially fighting on their opponent's territory, where they are at a distinct disadvantage. A skilled player will always strive to frame the discussion in a way that favors their own position, using language and rhetoric to shape the perception of the issue. This requires a deep understanding of cognitive biases and psychological manipulation techniques. Moreover, many fail to recognize the importance of nonverbal communication. They focus solely on the words that are being spoken, ignoring the subtle cues conveyed through body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. These nonverbal signals can often reveal the true intentions and emotions of the speaker, providing valuable information about their underlying motivations. A skilled observer can detect inconsistencies between what someone is saying and what they are truly feeling, allowing them to see through their deceptions and manipulations. In contrast, the weak are often oblivious to these subtle cues, missing crucial information that could help them to defend themselves. They are like chess players who are only paying attention to the pieces on the board, ignoring the subtle movements and tells that reveal their opponent's strategy. Ultimately, the failure of the weak in social chess stems from a combination of naivete, emotional reactivity, and a lack of awareness. They fail to recognize the game that is being played, and as a result, they are easily outmaneuvered by those who are more skilled at social manipulation. To succeed in the complex world of social interaction, it is essential to develop a keen awareness of power dynamics, emotional intelligence, and the art of persuasion. This requires studying the techniques of social chess and practicing them in real-world situations. Only then can you protect yourself from being exploited and achieve your goals with confidence and effectiveness. The key is to move beyond the surface level of conversation and see the underlying game that is being played. This means paying attention to nonverbal cues, identifying manipulative tactics, and controlling your own emotions. It means understanding that every interaction is a negotiation, and that the ultimate goal is to shape the narrative and control the outcome. By mastering the principles of social chess, you can transform yourself from a vulnerable target into a skilled player, capable of navigating the complex world of human interaction with confidence and success. The Machiavellian approach to social chess demands a cold, calculated assessment of every individual you encounter. Emotions are liabilities, empathy a weakness to be exploited. To truly master this strategy, you must view people as pieces on a board, each with predictable movements and inherent vulnerabilities. Understand their desires, their fears, their insecurities, not to connect with them, but to anticipate their actions and control their trajectory. This is not about friendship or genuine connection. It's about power. Cultivate an air of detachment, a mask of indifference that conceals your true intentions. Let others project their own desires and anxieties onto you, allowing you to gather information without revealing anything in return. Information is your most valuable weapon, and silence is your strongest shield. Learn to listen intently, not to offer support or understanding, but to identify the hidden levers of influence that can be manipulated to your advantage. Every interaction is an opportunity to gather intelligence, to assess the strengths and weaknesses of your opponents, and to refine your strategy for domination. The Machiavellian player understands that morality is a social construct, a tool used by the weak to constrain the strong. Principles are luxuries that can be discarded when they become obstacles to achieving your goals. Loyalty is a commodity to be bought and sold, not a virtue to be cherished. This does not mean engaging in gratuitous cruelty or pointless betrayal. It means being willing to do whatever is necessary, within the bounds of calculated risk, to secure your position and advance your interests. The key is to maintain the appearance of integrity while operating with ruthless efficiency behind the scenes. Subtlety is paramount. Direct confrontation is often counterproductive, creating unnecessary resistance and exposing your intentions. Instead, use deception, manipulation, and indirect tactics to achieve your objectives. Plant seeds of doubt, exploit existing rivalries, and create distractions that divert attention from your true goals. The Machiavellian player is a master of disguise, able to blend seamlessly into any social environment, adapting their behavior to suit the situation. They are chameleons, mirroring the emotions and values of those around them, gaining their trust and confidence while secretly plotting their downfall. They understand the power of flattery, using it sparingly but effectively to disarm their targets and lower their defenses. They also understand the power of fear, using it subtly to create a sense of unease and insecurity, making others more susceptible to their influence. The Machiavellian approach requires a deep understanding of human psychology, a keen awareness of social dynamics, and an unwavering commitment to achieving your goals, regardless of the cost. It is a dangerous path, fraught with peril, but for those who are willing to embrace it, it offers the ultimate reward: absolute control. The social chess grandmaster studies openings, knows the gambits, and most importantly, understands when to break the rules for maximum advantage. It's never enough to simply react. You must anticipate, orchestrate, and dictate. You are the architect of the game. The rise and fall of empires offers a stark parallel to the intricate game of social chess. Consider the Roman Empire, a civilization built on a foundation of strategic alliances, calculated betrayals, and masterful propaganda. Their ascent was not solely due to military might, but also to their ability to manipulate rival factions, exploit weaknesses in opposing societies, and control the narrative surrounding their conquests. They offered citizenship and protection to some, while ruthlessly crushing those who resisted, creating a complex web of loyalty and fear that ensured their dominance for centuries. The emperor, in many ways, was the ultimate social chess player, constantly maneuvering to maintain power, appease the masses, and outwit his political rivals. Internal power struggles were as crucial as external battles. The Praetorian Guard, initially intended to protect the emperor, often became a kingmaker, assassinating those who fell out of favor and installing their own puppets on the throne. This constant vying for control within the inner circle highlights the ever-present nature of social chess, even at the highest levels of power. The art of war, as Sun Tzu famously articulated, is fundamentally about deception. Every military campaign is a carefully orchestrated performance, designed to mislead the enemy, create confusion, and exploit their vulnerabilities. A successful general is not simply a skilled tactician, but also a master of psychology, understanding how to manipulate the emotions and perceptions of both his own troops and the opposing forces. Think of the Trojan horse, a classic example of deception that led to the downfall of a seemingly impregnable city. Or consider the Battle of Cannae, where Hannibal brilliantly encircled and annihilated a vastly superior Roman army, using a feigned retreat to lure them into a deadly trap. These are not just isolated incidents, but rather illustrations of a fundamental principle. Victory often depends on the ability to outthink and outmaneuver your opponent, to anticipate their moves and exploit their weaknesses. The same principles apply in the social arena. Your words, your actions, your body language, all of these are pieces in the game, weapons to be deployed strategically to achieve your desired outcome. Every interaction is a negotiation, a subtle dance of power where you are constantly trying to gain an advantage, to influence the other person's perception and behavior. The key is to be aware of the game, to understand the rules, and to master the art of manipulation. Just as a skilled chess player can anticipate their opponent's moves several steps ahead, so too can the adept social strategist foresee the consequences of their actions and plan accordingly. They understand that every interaction is an opportunity, a chance to advance their position, to build alliances, and to undermine their rivals. They are masters of observation, constantly analyzing the behavior of those around them, looking for weaknesses to exploit and opportunities to seize. The most effective social players are not necessarily the most charismatic or the most intelligent, but rather those who possess the greatest understanding of human psychology and the most unwavering commitment to achieving their goals. They are willing to play the long game, to patiently cultivate relationships and build alliances over time, knowing that these investments will eventually pay off. They are also willing to make sacrifices, to forego immediate gratification in order to achieve a greater long-term objective. It is a game of patience, cunning, and ruthless calculation, but for those who are willing to play, the rewards can be immense. The history of power is the history of manipulated perception and strategic deception. The drive to control, to influence, it's etched into our very being. We are, at our core, survival machines navigating a complex social landscape. Every smile, every nod, every carefully chosen word is a calculated move, designed to elicit a specific response, to steer the interaction in a direction that benefits us. This isn't necessarily malicious. It's simply human nature playing out. We crave validation, security, and a sense of control over our environment, and these desires often manifest in subtle, unconscious attempts to manipulate the perceptions and behaviors of those around us. Think about the last time you tried to persuade someone to see your point of view. You likely tailored your argument, highlighting the aspects that would resonate most with them, downplaying the points that might raise objections. That's manipulation, plain and simple. It's not inherently evil, but it is a recognition that information is a weapon, and persuasion is a form of control. Now consider the power of unspoken cues, the subtle shifts in body language that can convey volumes without a single word being uttered. A furrowed brow, a slight hesitation, a fleeting glance. These microexpressions are the telltale signs of our true emotions, and those who are adept at reading them can gain a significant advantage in any social interaction. They can detect deception, identify vulnerabilities, and anticipate their opponent's next move, allowing them to stay one step ahead in the game. And the game is always on, whether we realize it or not. We are constantly being bombarded with information, subjected to persuasive tactics, and influenced by the subtle cues of those around us. The key is to become aware of these forces, to understand how they operate, and to develop the skills necessary to navigate the social landscape with greater awareness and control. This isn't about becoming a master manipulator, but rather about understanding the dynamics of power, influence, and persuasion, so that you can protect yourself from being exploited and effectively pursue your own goals. It's about recognizing that the world is a stage, and we are all players in a complex drama, constantly vying for attention, resources, and social status. The players who understand the rules of the game, who are aware of the hidden agendas and unspoken motivations that drive human behavior, are the ones who are most likely to succeed. They are the ones who can navigate the social landscape with grace, confidence, and an unwavering sense of purpose. The world rewards those who understand its hidden codes. This awareness starts with a deep understanding of the psychology that drives behavior. Consider the fundamental human need for belonging. We are social creatures, hardwired to connect with others, to form bonds, and to feel like we are part of something larger than ourselves. This need can be exploited by skilled manipulators, who can create a sense of false connection, using flattery, mimicry, and shared experiences to build trust and rapport. Once they have gained your trust, they can then subtly influence your beliefs, behaviors, and decisions, often without you even realizing that you are being manipulated. The power of reciprocation is another key psychological principle that underlies many social interactions. We are naturally inclined to return favors, to repay debts, and to treat others as they have treated us. This principle can be used to create a sense of obligation, making it difficult for you to refuse a request or challenge a decision, even if it goes against your better judgment. Think about the last time someone did you a favor. Did you feel obligated to return the favor in some way? That's the power of reciprocation at work. Scarcity is another powerful tool of persuasion. We tend to value things more when they are rare or limited, and this principle can be used to create a sense of urgency, prompting us to act quickly before we miss out on an opportunity. Advertisers often use this tactic, highlighting the limited availability of a product or service to create a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. Authority is a similarly influential factor. We are often